Hello everyone, welcome to Digital Storytelling. I'm Sophie, and today I will be guiding you through some classic storytelling structures. In this quick video, I'm going to show you a basic narrative plot diagram, walk you through the steps of Joseph Campbell's story circles, show you some examples of films or shows you might recognize and how they fit these forms. And lastly, I'll tell you why it matters that you, as a digital media student, should understand these concepts. So for starters, we need to understand what storytelling is. Storytelling describes the social and cultural activity of sharing stories, sometimes with improvisation, theatrics, or embellishment. Every culture has its own stories or narratives which are shared as a means of entertainment, education, cultural preservation, or instilling moral values. Now, of course, there are always exceptions or alterations that can be made. Not every step is always met in these storytelling forms. Um, they can also help how other people receive information and help you create a structured narrative to follow when developing. This is especially good for you as a digital media student who is trying to create a product or story for your user to understand. So here we have a classical narrative diagram showing each of the key plot points that should be used. There's the opening or exposition, in which the main character is introduced to the new world. We are put into the world itself with the introduction. We understand their normal comfort zone so that we understand where the character is starting from. Second, there is an inciting action or conflict that is introduced, or the call to action that the main character must answer to. Rising action is all the steps taken to solve the problem to reach the big goal. It's the journey itself. The climax of the narrative is its highest point of tension and drama, or it is the time when the action starts during which the solution is given. And the falling action occurs right after the climax when the main problem of the story is resolved. And finally, the resolution completes the story, problem has been solved, and the main character can return to their everyday life, but they are usually changed by their journey. This actually ties perfectly into Joseph Campbell's hero's journey diagram shown here. These are the 12 out of the original 17 steps that Campbell created. The hero's journey is used in a lot of films like The Matrix, The Wizard of Oz, Chronicles of Narnia, or the Harry Potter films. It should be noted that the hero's journey doesn't have to be only fantasy pieces, it's just easier to complete all the steps using magical elements. But looking at the diagram, you have the call to adventure where the hero is called upon to complete a task. They meet a mentor or a guide who will go with them. They usually try to deny the call to adventure, fearing leaving their comfort zone. But eventually they cross a threshold and begin the journey. There are always trials and errors, things like fighting and losing a fight, being unable to complete a spell, things of those types. But they do gain new skills along the way. The death and resurrection is this revelation stage where they have been dumped to the deepest, darkest place possible, and they realize what it is they need to complete their journey. The hero transforms, finally understanding what they need to do in order to complete their task. There's atonement and typically some big battle, aka the climactic moment, and then the falling action includes them receiving a gift or a reward for their heroic deed. It could be money, knowledge, friendship. And finally, the resolution, where the hero returns home, changed by their journey. You see a lot of this in other types of films. We'll be covering two of them in this slideshow, and I think you'll recognize the steps pretty easily. So next up, Dan Harmon's story circle structure has similar points, but it's broken into less steps, and it makes it a lot easier to apply to other types of film or story structures. It's just a lot easier. This graph may be more appealing if you do not enjoy thinking of your story as a journey or have difficulty thinking of it in more fantasy-like terms. Broken into 8 pieces and 2 worldly halves, Harmon's circle structure is a little easier to follow. Step 1. The character is in their comfort zone, this step being the opening or exposition, introducing the character and their current state of being. They want something, money, power, a certain item or skill. They enter an unfamiliar space. Here, chaos can begin as they are entering an unknown territory. They'll adapt, going through trials and errors to achieve their goal. Surprisingly, they will get what they want very early on. However, it will come with a great price. They didn't spend time with their spouse, they lost a friend, forgot to sign a paper or something, any number of things, so long as it throws their world into chaos again. Then, the main character will decide to return to a familiar situation, but the situation has changed. So, if you're wanting less steps and more of a dramatic story, I'd recommend this structure rather than a hero's journey. It also can be applied more easily to other types of stories, um, that kind of thing. So, now I want to give you guys some examples of both of these structures. Hopefully, you know at least one of these examples. We're going to start with The Hobbit. The Unexpected Journey is a prime example of the hero's journey, with Bilbo stepping out of the Shire at the call to action by Gandalf. He goes with the dwarves, struggling with how he fits into the company. He encounters opposition both from the company and from others who do not think he has what it takes to complete his journey. He proves useful, though, being light on his feet and small as well as very clever. He fools Gollum and obtains the Ring of Power. Now, most of the other steps of Bilbo's hero journey is stretched out over the span of 3 films, so he does not return home till the final film. However, he does return to the company, even though he could slip away. And now he has changed, more sure of himself, his skills, and his bond with the dwarves. The Lion King is a full adventure, but it does show Simba's childhood into adulthood. Now, the tricky part about The Lion King and its story structure is that it tends to bounce around a lot, and there are a lot of steps that are repeated. So Simba is introduced as son of the king of Pride Rock, Mufasa. His first call to adventure is wandering to the elephant graveyard, interested in venturing outside the comfort of Pride Rock. Mufasa dies, and then Simba refuses the call to remaining at his home, feeling at blame for his father's death. His mentors are split, Mufasa being his first, as he starts to understand what it means to be king, what it means to be a lion, and just the basic hierarchy of the world surrounding Pride Rock. And then you have Rafiki being the key mentor during the remainder of the film. Additionally, you have Timon and Pumbaa, who are also mentors as they helped raise Simba. He was placed into an unknown situation and adapted, eating bugs and adapting his lifestyle to fit theirs. He gains new life skills, new life views, and new allies by living with Timon and Pumbaa. But then he is called again to action by Nala, who urges him to return and reclaim Pride Rock from Scar. He does return, though he faces challenges of returning, and it being revealed that he caused, air quotes, his father's death. However, he realizes it was never his fault. He's learned valuable skills and how to love and valuable relationships. Through this rejuvenated power, he overcomes Scar and reclaims Pride Rock as his reward. From there, the world returns to the way it once was, with Simba as the new king, and he is a better lion. Rick and Morty, on the other hand, uses Dan Harmon's story circle structure. So let's think more about a specific episode. Anatomy Park is one that I think is better suited to discussing this topic. So when considering Jerry's personal journey in Anatomy Park, just thinking about Jerry, he begins in his comfort zone of family coming over for Christmas. He wants his family to engage in Christmas fun in the way that he wants, but they're not really meeting his expectations. He is then thrown into an uncomfortable situation when his parents bring over their new lover. He works to adapt to it through conversation. He gets what he wants when his family puts away their technology, but he still does not feel that they are enjoying a connected family Christmas. He still feels alienated. They return to something familiar, and in the end, Jerry can enjoy his family Christmas, a changed man. These 3 are good examples of these narrative structures, and also give you examples of how they can be twisted and arranged to do what you want them to do. But the real question is, why does any of this matter to you? So, the key thing is you as a digital media student have to envision your user as your hero. You need to have basic knowledge of storytelling structures because it'll help you craft a narrative that will really engage with your users, draw them in, and make everything just feel more entertaining and more understandable. Well, that is all for today. Thank you for watching.